kindergarten. Happy Wednesday. It's Mrs. Griffith. We're going to read our big book for the week. And this is a really fun big book that I enjoy reading every year. It talks about what it's like to be the youngest in a family. Some of you are the youngest in the family, although a lot of you are oldest or onlys in your family. So it's kind of fun to look at different ways that people experience being in a family. But this is a story about a little girl who's the youngest. And so I think the book is going to talk about what is it like for her to be the youngest in her family. And the title of this story is One of Three. One of Three. And I see 3 girls on the cover. They look like they're having a good time. And here is the youngest. So I'm wondering what she will tell us in the story about being the youngest child. The title is One of Three. The author is Angela Johnson. And the pictures are by David Soman. Okay? So pictures by David Soman. Author Angela Johnson. All right, so let's read this story together. Since I can remember, I've been one of 3. Eva, Nikki, and me. So here we see this little girl. And here are her 2, what I'm thinking are her sisters. And their names are Eva and Nikki. Now she doesn't tell us what her name is. She just says Eva, Nikki, and me. It's like they're having fun playing dress up. One of 3 sisters, oh, now we do know that they are sisters, that walk to school together, down the street together, one of the 3 in the sun and the rain. So here we see the sisters going down the street together. It's a rainy day, but she tells us that they go down the street in the sun and the rain. So we know they walk together through all kinds of weather. So we probably can decide that they walk together throughout the year. There they are, 1, 2, 3. She has a backpack on her back. So does she. Actually, so does the little one. So where do you think they're walking to or walking from? They have backpacks on. Maybe to or from school. That's a clue that the picture gave us. So we can use the pictures and the text to get information about the story, can't we? I'm one of the 3 that lives in apartment number 2, has long hair and brown eyes, and can sometimes play hopscotch by the trash cans if I ask for a long time. So here we see the littlest sister talking to her big sisters. And the big sister here has her arms crossed in front of her and she's kind of looking at her little sister like, The little sister says, well, sometimes I have to ask for a long time to get to play hopscotch with her big sisters. So sometimes they're not always ready to let her in, but sounds like eventually they do, which is very nice of them. On Saturdays, I'm one of the 3 that sits outside the bakery and looks and smells and smells. So here we see the baker. He's got a pan of cookies and he's kind of enjoying watching those girls, and they're just enjoying looking at that beautiful foods that they have in the bakery window. Do you suppose they get to have one? I wonder. I bet they probably do. I'm one of the three that squeezes into the taxi on snowy days with Mama, Aunt Sarah, and Grandma, and it's warm there. So here they are, they're all cozy in the taxi, and they are riding together in the snow. Now it's interesting to me that they ride in a taxi. Do you ride in a taxi very often? No, I don't either. Not where I live. I'm wondering if they might live somewhere where they would use a taxi more than we do. Let's see if we can pay attention to some of the clues in the pictures and decide that. I'm one of the three that looks just like our Mama, smiles just like our Daddy, and holds hands with my sisters in the store, looking like triplets, almost. So these sisters, they look like their mom and their dad, and they're close in age, so they are pretty close to triplets, although they aren't actually triplets. Just like our cousins in our class, Lexi and Alyssa and Riley. Sometimes it almost feels like they're triplets, but they're not really triplets. But they look an awful lot alike, don't they? So here they are, and who's telling this story? As we're reading the story, who's telling the story? The little girl is, isn't she? The little girl, the youngest, who's the one of three. She's telling us what they do. I'm one of the three that likes the subway, the people on it, and the way our feet hang over the seats. So here they are riding on the subway. Okay, do we ride on the subway in Portland or Lake Oswego? No, we don't have a subway, do we? A subway is an underground bus system or train system that runs underground. We don't have one here where we live, but in really big cities, in some really big cities, like New York City, people get around by riding the subway. So that's giving me a clue that they live in a really big city, like New York City. And also, they rode in a taxi. And a lot of people that live in really big cities like that don't own their own cars because there's no place to park them. So they ride in taxis and on the subway. Ooh, here's another clue. I'm one of the three who lives over the flower shop. Mr. Lowen still gets all of our names wrong, but he gives us each a daisy every time. So here they are talking to Mr. Lowen, who runs the flower shop. Now they live up here in this apartment. Most of us live in neighborhoods where we live in a house. But this is another clue that they live in a big city like New York City. They live in an apartment, and their apartment happens to be over a flower shop. That sounds fun, doesn't it? And the man who owns it gives each of them a flower when he sees them, a daisy. So here they are carrying their daisies. We walk down the street like stair steps, and I'm in front. What does that mean, they walk like stair steps? Well, if you picture a stair, one is here, one is here, and one is here, right? They go from lower to higher, just like these girls do. Here's the youngest, here's the middle, and here's the oldest. So far it feels like these girls really have fun. being one of three, and they enjoy each other's company and they're having a good time. Sometimes Eva and Nikki say, I'm not invited to go with them, not to the park, the store, or sometimes even for a walk. So here's a time where the two older sisters are saying, no, we don't want you to come with us. How do you think she's feeling about that? I bet she's feeling kind of sad or lonely to think that her two older sisters want to go do something without her. Does that ever happen to you if you have brothers or sisters or friends sometimes? Sometimes other people say, no, not now. And that's hard, isn't it? All right. I'm left behind, not one of three, just one. And here she's sitting here. And I noticed that David Soman changes the colors in this picture a little bit. The pictures are a little more drab. That means they're not as colorful. Why do you think he does that? There's a reason, isn't there? Yeah, I think she's not feeling as colorful. She's feeling kind of sad and alone. So she's just sitting on the step. And so he chose to use colors that were a little more muted and sad to get that feeling across. Isn't that cool what illustrators do? Then Mama calls me sister and says, I'm too little to go there or do that. So maybe I just want to help her paint or read to her. Here's our high frequency word help there. So her mama comes and says, you know, sometimes that's just the way life is. You're not able to go. And that is true, isn't it, kindergarten? Daddy says that I have to be the baby sometimes and keep Mama and him company, just sometimes. And there's our high frequency word have. So here she's talking with her daddy. I think by looking at her face, it looks like she's starting to feel a little more comfortable, a little happier. I miss Eva and Nikki and me, but when it's just Mama, Daddy, and me, it's a different kind of three, and that's fine too. So here she is. Sometimes it feels good just to be alone with your mom and your dad, or your grandma, somebody special, just to have your own time. And the end of the story, here's the last page. There are no words on this page. So the author is just leaving us as the reader to decide what's happening here. So it looks to me like Eva and Nikki have come home from their outing, and the littlest sister has fallen asleep on the couch. And it looks to me like they're happy to see her. And they're just looking at their little sister and thinking, aw, she's so cute when she's sleeping. And they're happy to be back home with her. Isn't that a wonderful story, kindergarten? I really enjoy it. One of Three by Angela Johnson. Nice reading, kindergarten.